Most people start with the wrong question. They ask, what's wrong with me? Why can't I focus? Why do I procrastinate? Why do I keep scrolling when I said I wouldn't? That question already assumes a conclusion that you're defective. I don't think that's true. I think a better question is this. What am I avoiding right now? Because when you look closely, most so-called bad habits aren't random. They're not failures of discipline. They're strategies, imperfect ones, but strategies nonetheless. Your brain isn't broken. It's trying to protect you from something uncomfortable, boredom, uncertainty, a feeling you don't quite want to name. Once I stopped asking what was wrong with me and started asking what I was avoiding, everything softened, the shame eased, and clarity quietly replaced it. If this way of thinking resonates, you can subscribe. I make videos like this regularly. The advice everyone gives sounds logical on paper. Just focus. Delete the apps. Wake up earlier. Try harder. I tried all of it. What no one tells you is that this advice assumes your behavior is the problem, but behavior is usually the symptom. If scrolling numbs anxiety, deleting the app doesn't remove the anxiety. It just takes away the painkiller. So the mind looks for another escape. Food, sleep, daydreaming, busy work, anything. That's why willpower burns out so fast. You're asking yourself to sit with discomfort without understanding why it's there. Avoidance isn't laziness. It's unexamined self-protection. Your brain is biased toward relief, not truth. When something feels unclear or overwhelming, your nervous system interprets it as danger. Not physical danger, but psychological friction. And the fastest way out of friction is distraction. This isn't a character flaw. It's conditioning. Your brain has learned, through repetition, that a certain action gives quick relief, not long-term satisfaction. Just relief. And relief is enough to reinforce the loop. That's why boredom feels unbearable now. Not because boredom is worse, but because we've trained our attention to expect constant stimulation. I still feel this. I sit down to work, hit a vague point where I don't know the next step, and suddenly my hand is already reaching for something else. Not because I don't care, but because uncertainty feels heavier than distraction. Avoidance doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's answering emails instead of starting the one project that actually matters. Sometimes it's cleaning your room for the third time instead of making a decision. Sometimes it's watching videos about change instead of changing. I noticed something uncomfortable about myself. I wasn't avoiding work. I was avoiding the feeling of being a beginner again. The moment I named that, my behavior made sense. Avoidance is usually protecting an identity. The identity of someone who wants to feel competent, in control, or certain. If something clicked just now, you can name it in the comments. Even one word is enough. Once you see that, you stop attacking yourself and start listening. We love to believe change is internal, but most habits are environmental. If your phone is the most interesting thing in the room, your brain will choose it. Not because you're weak, because it's efficient. Instead of asking yourself to resist, ask a gentler question. What would make the right action slightly easier? For me, that meant lowering the barrier to starting, opening the document before I felt ready, writing one bad sentence, letting the first step be messy and small. Avoidance thrives on scale. When something feels big, the brain runs. Shrink the task, not yourself. Most people try to remove bad habits. That rarely works. The brain does respond well to empty space. If you remove a behavior without replacing the need it served, something else will fill the gap. The better approach is substitution. If scrolling gives you novelty, replace it with a different kind of novelty. A book that challenges you just enough. Writing a paragraph instead of an outline. Walking without headphones and letting your thoughts wander. Not heroic changes, just slightly better ones. I still slip. I still avoid. But I recover faster now because I don't turn it into a moral failure. Here's the part that changed everything for me. Habits don't come from motivation. They come from identity. Not the identity you announce, but the one you reinforce through repetition. Every time you face a small discomfort instead of escaping, you cast a quiet vote for a new version of yourself. Not someone perfect, just someone who stays a little longer than before. That accumulation matters more than intensity. You don't become focused by forcing focus. You become focused by repeatedly returning. You're not broken. You're avoiding something that feels heavy, unclear, or emotionally loaded. And that makes sense. So start there. Not with a total reset, not with a grand plan, just one small moment where you choose curiosity over judgment. Ask yourself what you're avoiding. Sit with it for 10 seconds longer than usual. Then take one tiny action that moves toward it imperfectly. That's how identity changes. Quietly, slowly, without shame. I'm still practicing this. Probably always will be. But I no longer believe something is wrong with me. And you don't have to believe that about yourself either. If you want to keep exploring ideas like this, you're welcome to subscribe. We'll take it slowly.